Hi there, welcome to week 3 of Seed Starting Saturday. This week I want to give you some tips on caring for your seedlings. I know that you haven't actually seen me in this video make soil blocks and plant seeds yet, but you need to have all the things on hand that you are going to need to take care of your seedlings. So that's what this week is all about. I'm going to share that. So before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping things. If you haven't already signed up to get our email every week, as soon as it goes live, down below this video, you can do that. And I would appreciate you doing that. And as well as if you haven't gotten our latest catalog, you can sign up on our website to request one. And then on our next bulk mailing, we can shoot one out to you. And lastly, what really helps us to be able to continue to do these kinds of learning events is by you doing a couple of things for us. One is at the bottom of the page of every week's video is an area to place comments. If you post your comments, your experiences, your questions, that all helps our website. That's what really helps me. I will answer your questions as quickly as I can, and we also appreciate you sharing it on Facebook with your friends, liking it, commenting on it, and sharing it on the social media platforms. But the most important is you posting on our website. And that way other people benefit from seeing the comments kind of all gang together and my answers. So I really appreciate that so much. This week, I'm going to share some of the tips and tricks of seed starting that I've learned over the years. So we're here in my plant room, but first we're going to look at what a home gardener setup would be like. For those of you that are not farming or crazy and starting tons and tons of seedlings, because you can really start hundreds under what I'm getting ready to show you. So we're here. I want to first look at my heat mat setup, which is right here. And y'all are just going to have to use your imagination and imagine that these had blocks on them once I put them back. So this is the Seedling Heatmap. And you just plug it in, and it has a built-in thermostat. So it will hold 3 of these home gardener size soil blocking trays. One of these trays holds 40 plants. That means that you can start your seedlings on a heat mat. 120 will sit here. So we're going to put these here like there was really blocks on it. I'm going to take this off. I'll tell you what that is in just a minute. So this is how a heat mat works. You can put it right on directly on top of the heat mat, and you care for them, water them in the side, which we'll do that in a moment with some seedlings. And typically most seeds germinate fairly quickly, anywhere from 36 to 84 hours. And so this is just one step in the process. Well, let's just say you want to start a couple of more sets of blocks than you have room for right here. This is my way of finding a way to make the most out of what heat mat you have. This is a cookie cooling rack. Yes, a baking accessory that has legs. They fold down. And my mom had these actually years ago. And so enough heat escapes from this heat mat that travels up that you can now put a second layer of seedlings, at least 2. You might even be able to squeeze 3 on there if you're really careful. So that is a way to get even more heat mat space and works really, really well. So what happens is we water them every morning. I come out, I water the seedlings that are on the heat mat, and once I see 50% of the blocks on a tray show signs of life, just barely starting to crack, I know the heat has done its job. I move them from the heat over to a grow light. And this is the tabletop grow light. And as you can see, 4 of our little trays fit under here. And there's 40 plants on each block. So you can actually support 160 plants under this little grow light. You can see that the grow light is right on top of the seedlings. It has a knob on the side that as the seedlings grow, you can easily move it up. Then once these seedlings get a little bit bigger, not much, then I'll move them outdoors to be hardened off. Of course, we're doing this during the cool season. These are cool season flowers, so they can go outside in the cool weather to be hardened off, so you can move your next batch of newly started seeds onto your grow light. So it's a real caravan kind of thing. You're just taking stuff from one spot and taking it to another, and you just make the most out of it. So we're looking at these little seedlings here. I thought maybe I'll show you how I water. That's another big question I hear a lot about. So I want you to see how I set up my watering can. I fill a kitchen trash can with water and let it sit overnight for the next day's watering chore. That allows for the chlorine and things to get out of the water. It's kind of like when you have an aquarium, you have to let the water sit. We do the same thing with our water. Chlorine does not help organic fertilizers. In fact, it may inactivate some of it. So allowing your water to sit, and it's quicker too, because I just leave my watering can in it and I just pull it up and it's full. So I water every morning, but once a week I add organic liquid fertilizer to the watering can to water with, and that feeds my babies. First, you have to really shake organic fertilizer really, really well. You always have to shake more than you think. And I'm a big fan of measuring everything, because if you're not measuring, then you don't know what you're doing. This is a gallon watering can, and the directions tell you for indoor plants 1 tablespoon per gallon. And so I have a little measuring spoon here, and I just dump it in and conveniently use it to stir. And all these little things just kind of stay here in my plant room. So you always want to use up all of the water, the fertilizer you mix, because it doesn't store well. It gets really stinky. So you could take it out and pour it on your pansies or something in your garden, or you learn to make less. It depends on what you're doing. So one of the things I did want to mention, I always tend to put my seedlings or my blocks so that I leave a channel for me to pour water into. I've seen people not put them evenly, and that's fine, except it messes with your watering. So here I just gently pour water in, and see how it just flows right around the blocks. Pouring it in, and it just flows around the blocks. And when you have a place to pour, it makes all the difference in the world. And then I'll get this one down here, which is not even, if you can see that, and it's kind of a problem. And so I've watered all 3. These are really dry too. And looky here, this one's already almost completely, so I obviously need to add more. You kind of will figure it out as you start seedlings. You can't put too much, you can put too much water, but it's very easy to pour the excess water out. So my method is to overwater, let them sit for a few minutes, and then come back and pour off any excess. But that allows even the blocks that are like right in the middle of the tray that you're sure that those blocks also get wet. So we're going to leave that for just a moment, and let's look over here. So this is on a commercial scale. We use larger trays. You saw these last week. And I want you to notice, Suzanne, if you can get both of these pictured side by side, if you'll notice how much taller this tray is than this tray, when they were both born the same and have had the same conditions, except I just moved them to a new shelf life. This tray was under really nice lighting. That's why they're shorter. I moved them because of this. when I noticed that these that were on a different shelf than the short ones were getting taller, I looked up in my lights and guess what? There was a light bulb burnout, which it's really hard to tell unless you look. So just that little bit of light missing made them stretch. Look at, I mean, that's a really great difference there. So light is so important. And so you have to keep your eye on it. So let's see what else. And so let's look back now at these seedlings. And so this is a great example. There's still a little bit left in here, but I still see dry. If you can tell the difference, I still see dryness in there. So we're going to let that still sit. This one just has, if it just has a little baby amount of water and your growing area is warm like mine is, I'm okay with leaving a little bit like that. This one too, because they still aren't all the way wet. I can still see dryness. So we'll come back and take a look at that. Some of the questions that I've been getting are, what's wrong with my seedlings? They aren't growing. They look yellow. What's the problem? The first things I'd think of is first watering too much. And your growing environment might not be hospitable to growing. If your room is not warm or hot, but on the warmer side, plants need warmth to grow, right? And if you're going in the morning to water them and they're still wet from yesterday, that's a problem. Ours are totally dried out because they're in a warm room. You want them to dry out. That warmth that dries them out makes your plants grow, okay? So if you're staying wet too long, you're either leaving standing water in the tray or it's not warm enough, like in your home, for the seedlings to take up that water. So you don't water again if the blocks are already wet. You want them to dry out in between. And then I just showed you how we put that liquid fertilizer once a week according to directions in the watering can. Make Monday your water and your fertilizing day. That really helps them to move along and stay healthy and happy. A couple other tools that I keep here in my room. This is a spray bottle. It has water in it right now. Sometimes I mist my seedlings if they're having trouble letting go of a seed. You'll be able to tell it's growing and the seed is still holding on. You can mist it. I also love to put the fertilizer mix in here and spray the seedlings. But I don't know that I would do that in my house. It's a little aromatic. You can take them outside and do it. But the foliage feeding, they really, really love. So I love having a squirt bottle. And then this is a pancake flipper, and this is excellent. Let's see if let's do it on Summit. Well, we'll try it here. So let's just say that you're me, and tomorrow you're going to do a program somewhere, and you need to take some seedlings with you, and you only need one set for whatever reason. I don't recommend moving them unless you have to, but the pancake holder really helps. I just kind of lift up the edge, put my finger over here, and you can pick up the whole caboodle at one time and then slide them onto another tray. I only recommend doing that if you have to because it can mess with the integrity of the block. And let's say you want to pick up one block for whatever reason. Maybe you're transplanting the small block up into the bigger blocker. I never try to handle my blocks with my fingers when they're this immature. And I'm trying to find one that has some really pretty roots so I can show you those too. Here's one. So I don't really touch the blocks with my fingers. I cut the block apart because sometimes the roots have already grown a little bit into its neighbor, and use that to pick it up. And I just kind of get my block under there, and that's the way I would handle a new little seedling. And you can see there's a root right there coming out. These are like 13 days old. And it's not that I totally don't want to pick it up, but you don't want to smash it. So you can handle it a little bit. These little plant ID tags, I don't use them to ID my plants. I keep them in here like this and am often using them to cut apart and to do things. So those are the tips that I have learned that I wanted to share with you today. I'm just reading over my notes. I will show you, this is my commercial heating mat. These are really big. This is a 5-foot one, and I have 2 of these. And we also have a germination chamber. And the only reason we use a germination chamber is because we can start many trays in a very small area with a germination chamber. So we have a thermostat set up over there. You know, if you're a commercial grower, you know, you need to invest hundreds, it's a few $100s for this setup, but you need it. But you can see that I keep my racks here. So you're looking at Sweet William that was just sown yesterday, hadn't started to germinate yet, but let's just say that my trays were full. My heat mat was full, and I wanted to start a couple more. That's when I use my cookie cooling racks and just pop them on top, and I'll put a second layer of trays on here until they germinate enough to get moved over to light. So I hope that these tips have helped you maybe solve a little problem. And please, on this page, post your questions and your comments down below, and I'll be happy to help you with that. So don't forget, sign up if you haven't already done so, comment on our page, and I will see you back here next week for week number 4.